You are on Tips and Streams with your host, Coca.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to Tips and Streams. I'm Kokan, and I hope you're doing well and feeling locked in wherever you're listening from. All right, let's get to the daily picks. I've got 4 NBA matchups on the card today, so buckle up. We're diving straight into the action. The first prediction for today's NBA games is for the game between the Denver Nuggets and the New York Knicks. Madison Square Garden is getting a real measuring stick game tonight, and I'm looking at it through one lens first: fatigue plus availability. Both teams are on the second night of a back-to-back, but the way those Tuesday games played out matters. New York handled business in Washington and never had to live in the mud for 4 quarters. Denver, on the other hand, had to chase a tough one in Detroit, spent real energy digging out of a hole, and still took the loss. That's the kind of back-to-back that can steal your legs in the second half. Now, here's the part where I stop myself from overreacting to the Knicks heater. Yes, New York has been rolling, and their home floor has been a problem for everybody. They've stacked wins, they've covered numbers, and they've been jumping teams early. When the Knicks are humming, the ball pops, the wings are flying around, and the Garden turns every run into a wave. But from a betting angle, I'm not here to pay full price for a streak. I'm here to ask one question. Is the spread asking for too much separation between two teams with championship-level ceilings? Because that's what a 7-point cushion is saying. It's saying New York controls this game comfortably, and I'm not convinced that's the most likely script. Denver travels well, and that matters in this building. They've been one of the better road teams all season, and they don't need a perfect night to hang around because their offense can score in chunks. If Nikola Jokic suits up, the entire geometry changes. He's not just a scorer and passer, he's a possession multiplier. He creates clean looks, he turns broken plays into layups, and he's one of the few stars who can slow the game down without killing rhythm. After coming back from the knee issue, I'm also watching his work on the glass. The rebounding numbers and chances tell me he's still living in his comfort zone, even if the minutes are managed. And if you're in New York, that's where the missing bodies start to matter. If they're shorthanded in the hustle spots, if the rotation is thinner, and if they're playing on tired legs, it's harder to create the same separation they've been getting lately. Add in the Knicks' back-to-back trend not being as clean against the number, and I get even more interested in points. So I'm not fading the Knicks as a team. I'm fading the idea that this becomes a clean, easy cover. I see a game where Denver's half-court execution keeps them connected, where the Nuggets' road underdog profile shows up again, and where 1 or 2 big Jokic sequences swing the margin late. I'm taking the Nuggets to cover the 7-point spread against the Knicks in New York. Today's second prediction is for the game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. Wednesday night in San Antonio feels like one of those games where the film tells you the truth, not the hype. Oklahoma City and the Spurs have seen each other so much this season that there are no secrets left, just adjustments. And the biggest adjustment is mental. When two teams keep trading punches, the next matchup turns into a test of discipline, pace control, and who can execute when the game slows down late. The first thing I'm watching is the rhythm of the night. This series has had a real mud-on-the-sneakers vibe more often than not, because both teams are comfortable forcing half-court possessions and making you earn every clean look. San Antonio has been especially good at turning games into chess matches, staying connected defensively and waiting for opponents to get impatient. Oklahoma City, when they're right, flips that script by winning the first 6 minutes. They get the ball moving, touch the paint, and turn stops into quick strikes before the defense can get set. If the Thunder come out sharp and avoid those early empty trips, it changes everything about the Spurs' comfort level. The schedule spot matters, too. Oklahoma City is stepping into the second night of a back-to-back, and that's usually where legs can get heavy, especially on the road. But the key detail is how those minutes were handled in their last game. When a team can spread the workload and keep the main guys from playing hero ball minutes, the back-to-back becomes less of an excuse and more of a stress test. San Antonio has the rest advantage, and at home, they've shown they can ride that energy, especially when their defense sparks the crowd. Now let's talk form and confidence. The Thunder have not been a perfect cash machine lately, but the overall profile still screams elite on both ends when they're healthy and locked in. San Antonio has been playing solid basketball, and they've shown 3 times this season that they can crack Oklahoma City's patterns. That's real. But it also means the Thunder walk into this building with a clear memory of what failed and what finally worked in the most recent meeting. I love that kind of clarity for a contender. When a top team gets embarrassed in a matchup, then finds one clean answer, they usually come back to that answer like it's a safe code. Injury context is the swing factor. Oklahoma City has been juggling a messy report, and when key creators or defenders are limited, it changes shot quality and late-game execution. San Antonio is also missing rotation help and monitoring a questionable piece, which can show up in the fourth quarter when legs and fouls start stacking. That's where depth stops being a talking point and becomes points on the scoreboard. So I'm saving the call for the buzzer like always. I expect a tighter game than the public wants, with long stretches where every bucket feels like work. And in that kind of game, I trust the team that can win possessions, not just highlights. My prediction is, here, my money is on the Thunder to win this game against the Spurs in San Antonio. The third prediction for today is for the game between the Boston Celtics and the Houston Rockets. Boston rolls into Houston on February 4th with tired legs but a hot hand. And that's the first thing I'm circling on my scouting report. They just handled business in Dallas, and now they've got to walk into the Toyota Center against a Rockets team that lives for contact, rebounds like it's rent money, and turns games into a full-body workout. This is one of those matchups where the box score won't tell the whole story unless you understand who controls the rhythm. Houston's identity is clear. Pressure the ball, hit the glass, and make every trip down the floor feel like you're carrying a piano. They're sitting near the top of the West with a strong record, and their home floor has been a problem for almost everyone. The biggest reason is simple: extra possessions. They lead the league in rebounding, and that offensive rebounding number is a cheat code when you're already defending like maniacs. If Boston doesn't secure the board, they'll be forced to defend 2 and sometimes 3 efforts in the same possession. And that's how a close game turns into a slow bleed. Now, the Celtics aren't some soft target. They're one of the most structured teams you'll see, and even without Jason Tatum, they've adapted to a style built on spacing, quick decisions, and a heavy diet of threes. Jaylen Brown has been operating like a featured scorer, and when his downhill game is paired with Boston's kickout game, the Celtics can create those avalanche stretches where the rim feels tiny for the defense. The key question is whether their legs cooperate. Second night in a row, on the road, in a building where Houston tries to drag you into a mud fight. That's not ideal when your offense leans on three-point volume. From Houston's side, the Kevin Durant situation matters a lot. If he's available, even at less than perfect health, he changes the geometry of the floor and gives them a bailout option when the half-court gets sticky. And Houston has dealt with injuries already, including the season-long absence of Steven Adams and Fred VanVleet. So they've had to win with toughness, defense, and Sengun doing damage inside. Sengun is coming off a monster outing where he carried the scoring load, lived at the line, and controlled the paint like a veteran. If Boston's big rotation is in flux, especially with Nikola Vucevic newly acquired and not guaranteed to be ready, Houston's ability to bully the interior becomes even more important. This game also screams grind from a tempo standpoint. Both teams have strong defensive habits, and the recent pattern points the same way. Houston's home gains have consistently landed on the lower scoring side, and Boston's recent road spots have leaned that direction too. That doesn't mean nobody scores. It means every bucket is earned, every run is contested, and late game execution decides the ticket. So here's where I land after weighing the rest edge, the rebounding math, and the roster uncertainty. I'm picking the Rockets to win and cover the 3.5-point spread against the Celtics in Houston. Today's last prediction is for the game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Los Angeles Clippers. Cleveland rolling into Los Angeles for this one feels like a real stress test of styles, and I'm dialed in on who gets to play the game they want. The Cavaliers want oxygen. They want pace, early offense, drive and kick threes, and that smooth flow where the floor feels wide and the ball never sticks. When they're in that rhythm, they don't just score. They score in waves, and the numbers back up how dangerous their engine can be. This team is sitting around the top tier in scoring at about 119 a night on solid efficiency, and they've been stacking wins lately, including that loud road win in Portland, where they blew the doors open after halftime. But the Clippers are not here to play track meet. Their whole identity is about turning games into a decision-making exam. They switch, they make you burn clock, they make you play deeper into the possession, and they dare you to live off jump shot variance. That's the exact kind of defense that can make a rhythm offense look ordinary if the first few threes rim out. And it's also why the flow of this game matters more than the names on the jerseys. If Los Angeles controls tempo, this becomes a grind where every empty trip feels like two. Here's where I lean Cleveland, though. The Cavs are built to survive ugly stretches because they can win the middle of the floor and they can close. Their fourth quarter scoring has been elite, and that's not an accident. When the game tightens, they have the type of shot creators and decision makers that can still manufacture points late, even if the first 3 quarters were a tug of war. And I can't ignore what their recent form is telling me. They've won 13 of their last 18, and they're covering more often again after a season that's been a little annoying for bettors who needed clean results. The other key for me is the paint. Jared Allen just put up a monster line, and it wasn't empty calories. It was dominance. When Cleveland is getting real rim pressure and real interior finishes, it stops the Clippers from living comfortably in that switching shell. It also forces rotations, and that's when the Cavaliers' three-point volume starts to matter healthily, not in a desperate way. On the other side, the Clippers can score, but their offense is still a little more controlled and a little less creative in terms of ball movement. They're near the bottom of the league in assists, and that can show up when a game gets tight and you need quick, connected offense instead of one tough shot after another. I also can't ignore the spot. Cleveland is deep into a road swing out west, and that can sap legs, but it also sharpens focus. Meanwhile, the Clippers are coming off a loss where they got punched early and spent the whole night chasing. If they start slow again, Cleveland has the firepower to turn that into another scoreboard problem fast. So I'm expecting a game where the Clippers try to slow the music, switch everything, and make Cleveland prove it in the half court. I'm also expecting Cleveland to keep answering, to win enough of the rebounding and paint battle, and to have the cleaner late-game options when it's winning time. My prediction is the Cavaliers to win the game against the Clippers in LA.